the best way to set her shot up and to set her up when she comes in is to let you know that she was shot by a BLM instigator a few years ago as part of a mass shooting. We'll leave it there, and then we're going to let Lori talk about everything that she has with our situation that's coming up. Projo, you let me know when we can bring Lori up, and then, of course, we'll go from there. So
she's ready.
We've got Lori. Lori, hey, good morning, Lori.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming in to canceltheshow.com. And, of course, I know you walked in, Lizzie's, oh, my God, look at the USA gear.
Yeah, because she knows I was geeking out about it. I love Lori so much. And just before she gets started, in all transparency, I know Lori, and how I met her is through one of our previous guests, actually a continual guest, is Chanel Rion. Lori knew her before I ever knew her. She was actually Chanel's husband's, I would say, area campaign coordinator. You might have had a different title than that, but that's how I saw you as.
Social media person, if you will. I took over his Twitter because it wasn't doing very well.
Right, yes. And she's very good at that. She showed me how to do all this, to be honest. And so we became very fast friends. And so you can see by what she's wearing why she and I get along so well. But why I wanted her on here is not just because she's my Thelma and I'm her Louise. It's because she is a huge freedom fighter. And the irony is not lost on me and will not be lost on you guys. What happened to her? Lori, start telling us about what you were doing that day, minding your own business with your mom in the car. But if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself before you get to that, feel free.
I live in Orchard, basically the Orchard Farm area. And
so to St. Louis area, St. Charles County.
Yes. And I was in business with my husband. I no longer am doing that because of this with my hand. I typed forever and a day, and it got to the where I just couldn't do it anymore. So I finally retired. Woohoo me, 54.
Woo, you're a young retiree lady.
Me and my husband, we have 6 children together. We have 10 grandkids and 2 great grandbabies and one that's going to be due in September.
Exciting. So exciting.
Yeah. So getting back to what happened to me, 2020, I will just say, was literally the year from hell for me. I had my daughter who lives in Atlanta, went down there in April. One thing led to another. She was gone to church. And the first trauma incident I had was I had to fight off a pit bull, believe it or not, that tried to kill both of her dogs. And I had been previously diagnosed with fibromyalgia in like 2017. So that traumatic incident just really started the whole out of control spin for me. And I was told we have to say cupcake or something for the big C. I
Correct.
had that in August, which was really bad. That was just another layer. And then comes what happened to me September 13th, 2020, which I, of course, will never forget. But I was down in Atlanta. We were preparing, me and my mother were down there, and we were doing like last minute wedding stuff. My daughter was getting married in October. And that Sunday morning, we actually had her church's praise and worship on the radio. We left early, and my mom started out driving. I'm glad. She decided, hey, would you like to take over? Because if not, it would have been my mom, not me. So we switched off driving in Chattanooga, and about 10 minutes south of Murfreesboro, I think is where it was, I came upon what appeared to be either an accident or road construction. It ended up being the start to an absolute hell.
Nightmare you've been living ever since.
Yeah, I have. And so what I visually saw was I saw a black car in the median. I had no idea that it belonged to the 3 thugs. I guess I'm allowed to say thugs.
You can say thugs because that's what they were.
I described these guys. But he shot both of the guys that was in the car with him. His name was D'Angelo Dorsey. He's no longer with us. But anyway, he shot both, killing one, threw that one on the side of the highway. So I see people on the left side of the highway. I'm not sure why. And then I see people over here, what looks like they're tending to someone, not sure, but that happened to end up being the guy he threw out on the highway, got ran over, he died. I see 2 tractor trailers that are stopped on the left side of the road, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm looking at my mom going, oh my gosh, what is going on? And lo and behold, D'Angelo had shot the truck driver in the face, and he had to be airlifted to the whatever that critical care unit is in Nashville. he came around the truck, the semi truck, and just as he was coming around, I was passing. We were only going about maybe, I don't know, 35 miles an hour. We were slowed down. And before I could even react, he pulls up his gun and he shoots it at me. Now, granted, I'm within probably from here to you,
which is about 10 feet.
And I was able to give the police a description of this guy all the way down to his gold grill. And so he shot me in my hand. And at the time, I didn't know if I was shot anywhere else. My mind actually didn't even compute that I had been shot until I raised my hand up. My fingers are barely hanging on, and I'm just bleeding
That's
profusely. And my mom, I remember saying, "Oh my God, Mom, I've been shot." And at that point, I had already gunned my car, and we had pulled off on one of the medians. And
smart thinking, you did
God
that.
loved my mother. She had it together long enough to put a tourniquet on my arm, or I could have easily bled out because it was bleeding that bad. She called 911. And as we are on the median,
did you come to a stop? Because how fast were you driving by when
we were going normal speed until the traffic started slowing down, and then it slowed us all down to like anywhere from 30 to 35 miles.
So
an
you're
hour.
going through about 30, 35, and then this guy just comes up to the car and shoots.
He was like in between. I'm on the right side, the tractor trailers are on the left side, and he just turns around and boom. I had a loaded 9mm underneath my seat. I had no time to react other than they say you fight or you flight. I chose to flight.
And he was on foot, correct?
He was on foot. He was looking for a vehicle to take, is basically what he was doing. And I was like, no, you're not taking mine with my mom. No. So I just gunned it. I went down. And as we're on the side, my mother is screaming for the people that we now know was tending to the dead guy that was in the car with him. This guy, he was a volunteer EMT. He comes over, he sees what's going on. And about that time, D'Angelo was able to take a Spanish man. His name, I want to say, is Luis, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. My mom was telling me. He took his car and he didn't have any more bullets. I took the last one. But of course, Luis didn't know this. So he gave his car up. And luckily, I was the one that took the last bullet. And I say that because he could have easily shot Luis because he put the gun to his back and pulled the trigger. But of course, nothing happened. So as he gets in that car, we see this car at a high speed of rate coming off the highway and coming down on the median, and he almost hit us. Same darn guy. And I'm going,
unbelievable.
You've got to be kidding me. But anyway, they took me by ambulance to the hospital there in Murfreesboro. But after that happened to me, he bumped into a couple, Eileen and Jordan Stevens. Now, granted, Eileen was on Dr. Phil's show. This was, I want to say, a year and a half after it happened. She was pregnant and they were on their way to church. And so he just bumped into them. Of course, they're thinking it was just an accident. He gets out, Jordan gets out, and he takes them hostage. He gets in their vehicle, and they go back to her house. And the only reason I know all of this is because of watching her interview and actually talking to Eileen myself. They go back. He's wanting some food. She said he's popping pills right and left. So I knew then he was really erratic and high on whatever he was on. He takes them. He gets food. They actually had some guns there. He takes whatever guns and ammo, and he's planning on. He told her, I want to go to ATM. I want to get money. I'm going to go to Mexico because he knew he was. And before I go any further, I meant to say this in the beginning. He's a 2-time felon. Both. One was criminal armed action, first robbery, or however you say that. In 2011, spent a year in prison, got 9 years of probation. And then in 2013, does it again and only gets probation. So you can
unreal. That's
you can
unbelievable.
Thank St. Louis City and St. Louis County for that one.
Time out. Wait a minute. So he was a resident of St. Louis City.
He was a resident.
But this occurred in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're both in Georgia. Was he in Georgia as well?
Yeah.
Wow. But you're both from the St. Louis area and you both end up at the same place where you got shot. What are the odds of that? I would love to know what the odds are. That is just craziness.
I was really shocked when I found out he was from Missouri.
Yes. I remember hearing that.
He lived, I believe his last known address was Berkeley.
We're talking with Lori Johnson. She's describing when she was shot by a BLM instigator. You can say it was a mass shooting too. But you just hit me so hard with that, Lori, when you told me about him being a Missouri resident, a
Mm.
St. Louis City resident,
Mhm.
and in that time of 2020 and before where he wasn't prosecuted to even a close percentage of what the law should have been. He should have been in prison.
Oh, exactly. And I tell everyone, if he had been in prison and stayed in prison the whole time,
Yes.
it would not have happened. It
And,
just would not.
and how
He
many
would have-
lives were taken? Like how many died?
2 people, and then he
Ugh.
shot himself. He shot 6 of us total. But
Mm.
but here's the part that will really shake you to your core. After he does whatever he's doing at Eileen and Jordan Stevens' house, he makes them take off in a RAV4. As he goes down the road a while, he tells them to pull off. He ends up making Jordan get out, and he executes Jordan in front of his wife.
His
okay?
pregnant wife.
She's 4
Ugh.
months pregnant. So he just drops him off on the side of the road, gets in with Eileen, and they take off, supposedly going to go to an ATM, I guess is what my understanding. But he loses control because he's driving, and he loses control and he ends up rolling it. And he knew he was going to go to prison and probably never see the light of day again.
Right.
So he shot and killed himself in front of her. But luckily,
Ugh.
she survived. Her baby is fine. She had a beautiful little girl.
Oh.
And I think they relocated to Florida. She had family down there. But it's been a long road. And my voice now, I went through some serious depression and PTSD.
I'm sure you
from all of
did.
it. Still have chronic pain because it just threw me in a tailspin.
Chronic pain in the hand or
Just all over because of the fibro. Anytime you have trauma, it just
It
really
exasperates.
it does. Now, as far as my hand goes, my hand, I don't know if you can see it or if I'm showing it correctly.
right in front of
There we go.
the little camera right there, and you can put it up to that.
Yeah, I had a big hole basically right here. These fingers were hanging off, and this one was broke. This one was fractured. They were able to put those 2 fingers back on with pins, and my bones had a fuse, so I can't bend them.
Can you hold that back up again and show people what that was like, and show where your hole was again in the hand?
The hole was like this big. And it's hard to see, but I had just all kinds. I'd have to show you pictures, but yeah, they had to stitch all that up. They had to put, when I went to, and I will say this, when I went to the hospital there in Murfreesboro, all they did was they stripped me down, make sure I wasn't shot anywhere else, and they bandaged me up because I needed to get home so I could have a surgeon look.
Correct.
So
Yep.
emergency surgery they did on me 2 days later, and they removed all the debris, and come to find out the bullet was still stuck in.
Oh
Sorry.
my God.
Crazy.
Still stuck
That's
in the finger.
crazy.
Yeah. And
What kind of a bullet is it? Because you have to live with this, and that's why I ask. I'm just curious what kind
I can tell all the politicians that might be listening, it wasn't an AR-15. It was a 9mm.
Okay.
And he
Thank you.
created that
Right.
much mass destruction
With just a 9mm.
with a 9mm. And my voice now, I basically want to see the gun laws that are on the books. I want to see those enforced. People like D'Angelo Dorsey should have never been out on the street.
Correct.
He didn't even have an ankle bracelet, as far as I know. And I know for a fact he did not have special permission to leave the state. Granted, at the time, I had Channel 4, KMOX. They all interviewed me at the time.
Mhm.
I think it hit Fox News and stuff. But the thing is, he just should have never been out of Missouri.
Correct.
But yet, when you're a thug, when you're a criminal and you're wanting to break the law, you're going to do whatever you want.
You are.
That's what these politicians, they don't want to address that. Okay. They don't. And these activists, these gun control activists, okay. Moms on Demand, that Shannon Watts or whatever. Matter of fact, I tweeted out to her the other day and she blocked me, and for good reason, because I basically called her on the carpet when she,
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you.
when she's wanting to shut down a darn song. And she basically
Right?
is claiming
Come
that
on.
she's the reason why he got it pulled from CMT. I said, you know what? I said, I would love to sit down and debate with you on this, because I guarantee you I will win.
Well, she's also the reason why he became the most downloaded iTunes then. And
Mhm.
she's
And
also
fast
why
on it.
he's number 2 on
I
Billboard.
was just going to say that. I saw that coming in. He's number 2 on Billboard. So she actually did him a favor.
She
but
did.
the
So
extreme-
congrats to Moms on Demand or
Whatever their name
You just
is.
helped.
Good job.
You just put a lot more money in Jason Aldean and his
Oh,
band
yeah.
members' pocket.
Absolutely. And Lori, when you were down there, I remember finding out after the fact, I think from your daughter-in-law, that he was down there for nefarious reasons, is why I call him a BLM instigator. What was he doing there, and why was he coming back when he was coming back? Do you remember?
He was running drugs.
Yep, he was running drugs,
yeah.
and he was in
running.
all the BLM riots, and he was with
he
the
was
people
a
with
supporter
him.
of all that. Now, granted, his Facebook is still up, but they have stripped a lot of the stuff that's on his Facebook.
Got it.
And that's one of the reasons. I personally have asked for his Facebook to be shut down multiple times, but I don't get any answer, or I'm denied, or whatever. And I'm okay.
He shot himself. He took
Mhm.
his own life
Yeah.
after taking at least two people's lives and trying to take Lori's life, as she explains to us today some of those situations that are going on. What's scary? First of all, it's so good for you to be in studio and to share your story. And we love you, and you do a great job of explaining it. We don't know what it's like to go through something, and we can say we can imagine what it's like to go through that, and then the trauma after the fact.
Yeah.
But we're just grateful that you can explain it, come in and try to give people an idea, and also try to do something about it, because it's one thing when something happens to you and you're a victim, but to not sit back and continue to be a victim when it comes to getting the messaging out, when it comes to gun laws, and it comes to the prosecution of what we have, because we have plenty of gun laws. It's prosecuting them, taking care of the situations, prosecutors actually following a manual. It's very simple on what you're supposed to do.
The laws are on the books. These prosecutors, they have got to start enforcing these laws. And not only that, but I personally would like to see it to go one step further. And when you have a violent perpetrator like D'Angelo that chooses to have a gun and cause God knows what kind of chaos or whatever, when it comes time to prosecute, I don't want to see any plea bargains.
Right.
That went out the window the minute you put that gun in your hand, you decided to kill somebody or shoot somebody. That's the way I feel. You should not even be allowed to have a plea bargain. End of story.
Correct.
And nobody will change my mind when I say this, because I feel like if they would just start doing that, I think you might start seeing the crime go down a lot, because you would start getting these thugs off the streets.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah. There's none. And it's just, the irony isn't lost on any one of us, I'm sure, that Andrew Bailey had to come and get rid of this chick. And the chick, what I'm meaning, I'm being disrespectful here, but Kim Gardner, if she had done her job.
Well, actually,
it was before her.
It was before her, and it was McConnell or McConnell.
Oh, that's right.
Whatever.
That's right. You're right.
He's not even better.
No, but he was St. Louis County, though. So this guy must have been a St. Louis County resident or done something in the county.
Kim Gardner wasn't even a thought.
Kim Gardner has problems when it comes to Daniel Riley, who took the leg of Janae Edmondson when she was here for the volleyball tournament. And of course, you want to talk about ankle bracelets and not showing up for court, letting them out. It makes me think how many more of these Rileys and of these people are there out there right now running the streets and doing what they're doing on a daily and weekend basis. That's for sure, throughout the state of Missouri.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, when I saw that she was going to sue the city of St. Louis, I literally wanted to jump up and just cheer, because I reached out to, I know more than on one hand, different attorneys, different offices. I wanted to sue the prosecuting attorney's office in St. Louis County. I wanted to sue and hold the judge that allowed him out on probation. I wanted to hold her accountable. Granted, she's retired now, but in my opinion, all of those people that died that day or were shot like myself, they're the ones that have blood on their hands, not anyone else but them, because they allowed this creep to be out on the streets like he was.
Did anything were you able to get help with anything when it comes to support for the injury, support for all of the PTSD that you've had to come after since you weren't able to go after or sue anybody?
I've done it privately. I've went and had counseling privately. But
this has all been out of pocket for the experience that you've had.
Oh, yeah.
And Lori, what is interesting to me is people can see from you talking, you're a badass and you're a fighter and you're a patriot. But what broke my heart, part of you changed in an enormous way. What people don't see is once you're shot by a thug, you go through such a cycle that you had to go through of depression and PTSD, and then your body didn't work the way it was and all of that. And if you weren't who you were, the type of person you were, you'd still be on your couch. So many, quote, normal people, they fold. And so there is no fight. I always knew, and my prayer is exactly what you're doing is you're still there.
Mhm.
You have the wounds now and the scars, but you're still the freedom fighter that you were before. And now you're coming out swinging just like you did before.
Oh, yeah.
Because for a while you weren't coming out swinging. We were very worried about you
Mhm.
because you weren't you. He changed who you were. But one thing I'm going to bring up that she didn't bring up is she is a Christian and God restored you. And you can talk
And
a
he
little bit
saved
about
me,
that.
basically,
Yes,
because
yes.
I could have easily, I always say, if I hadn't have been going the speed I was going, if I had gone a little bit slower, he would have shot my mother, because where the bullet went in is the little fog window that you have on your SUVs. It came in there and hit my hands that were on the steering wheel. He could have easily hit my mom. And in the direction of that bullet, it would have went right into her chest.
Yes.
And I could easily not have a mother to this day, but I thank God that didn't happen. It was horrible, and I wouldn't wish what I went through on anyone, even my worst enemy. And I don't really have many, but it was bad. I've just now, Elizabeth can attest to this. I'm just now at the stage where I can talk to you guys or talk to anyone without breaking down crying.
This happened again September 13th of 2020. Lori Johnson went through that. We had some people asking again that were coming in maybe a little bit after you were talking about from that situation. When you see what's happening, are there things that, what I mean when you see what's happening, when you see crimes occurring, when you see that the city that you live closest to, major city, St. Louis, is year in, year out considered to be one of the deadliest. How does that make you feel when you see certain things that are happening? Because you see the reports that are happening and the shootings that happen on a weekly basis.
Well, one thing we need is justice reform. We don't need gun control. We have enough laws on the books.
I think over 40,000 gun laws.
Yeah, and they're still wanting to push more. No, that's not the answer. The answer is you have got to be really strict and go by the books. Throw this plea bargain crap out the window. That's why people like D'Angelo Dorsey, that's why that kid that hit
Daniel Riley.
Yeah, that's why they're out on the street, because of the failure of our justice system and the failure of prosecutors not doing their job.
Well, now we're dealing with no cash bail situations in a couple parts of the country, Los Angeles and Chicago. We brought that up a little bit yesterday. Yeah, no cash bail. That's all right. We'll take you in. You can go right back out. Everything. We'll catch back up with you later. It is sad. And nobody even understands or can begin to understand a story like Lori's unless, God forbid, it happens to you or one of your loved ones. That's for sure. Lori, we thank you for coming in today. Thank you for sharing it. We'll have to have you back in. We love your story. We love your passion, your
She's
fight.
the best. She's a
your
badass.
spunk.
She's the best.
It's funny
She is.
she keeps saying that, because have you seen what I put on my Jeep?
Yeah, I saw that. Of course you did.
It's called Badass Edition.
There you
That's what her name is.
You be you, Lori. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks so much for
Thanks
coming
for
in
having
today.
me.
And hopefully this helps in some form or way to
so.
talk about it publicly,
Yeah.
to not only help others, but to help you. As you said, you haven't been able to talk publicly about it in this kind of a forum, dealing with everything you've dealt with. Yeah. Keep Lizzie in check as well then.
That's a tough job. That's probably her biggest job, is to keep me to behave.
She's fine. That's why we call that. I forget. I don't know if it was us that came up with the Thelma and Louise thing, or maybe it was Cortland. I don't know.
I think Cortland called us that we were the Thelma and Louise, and she's
Yeah.
Thelma and I'm Louise, because we were just enough trouble to get things done, but not quite incarcerated.
Do you talk? Do you talk politics publicly?
Sometimes I do.
Do you talk about who you're rooting for in 2024 for the presidential election?
I have not made up my mind, to be quite honest, because it's just, I don't know. It's just, there's just so much stuff going on. There's so many distractions going on. It's every single day. I was listening to you guys coming in to the studio, and I'm hearing these chefs that are dying. Not because they made bad food. It's because they're getting they're getting on boats without life jackets. And I thought to myself, my sister-in-law she can't swim to save her life. Okay. And I think you've met Pia, right?
I have.
She's from the Philippines, and she wouldn't even get on our houseboat without a life jacket. So it's like, come on, that whole thing stinks.
It does stink, doesn't it?
No, it does.
Stink.
100%.
Absolutely.
Laura, thanks again for joining us today. We wish you the very best.
Thanks
Please keep in touch with us, okay?
I will.
All right. And just how it is, whenever you want to, you can just put your headset down and you can walk away.
All righty. I'm like, I don't know how to do this.
Exactly. We didn't give you an update.
Thanks,
it's all pretty relaxed. This is cancelthisshow.com.